All right. So this week we're going to be taking a look at fractions, decimals, and percents, how they're related to one another, their issues, and what's good about them and what's not great about them. So most people dislike fractions, but what we're going to learn today and this week is that fractions really give us the best indication of what the part in the whole value is. So basic definition is, this is called the numerator, and this is called the denominator. And the number on top is the part, so like that is the piece, and then the denominator is the whole. So something like, if, I don't know, let me think of an example of a fraction, something where, I don't know, there are, 7 pieces of candy left in a bowl that originally had 12 of them left over. So that would be 7/12, right? Kind of equal shares, something like, let's say I'm going to eat, 2 of the 6 pieces of pizza in a pizza. That would be 2/6. Now, we know that this could reduce down to I ate 1/3 of the pizza. Okay? Now, representing a whole number as a fraction, as we can extend this idea of numerator and denominator as just making the denominator over 1. So if we have a whole number n, it would just be a denominator of 1. Now, negatives with fractions, this is something that's really important and students tend to struggle with. We can actually represent negatives with fractions 3 ways. So we could have the negative on top, or in front, so negative 3 divided by 5. Or we also could attach the negative to the numerator, the number -3 over a whole part of 5. Finally, we also could represent the same way as a whole number 3, positive number 3, over negative part of 5. These are all interchangeable, so the negative can be in the front, it can be in the numerator, or it can be in the denominator. Now, how do we represent 1 as a fraction? Well, to represent 1 as a fraction, we would just divide the same number by itself, right? So 3 parts of 3 would be 1 whole. So any number over itself is going to give us the number 1. Now, to represent 0 as a fraction, we can have any number in the denominator with a 0 on top. So 0 divided by 3 equals 0. Now the one thing we need to note here is n cannot be equal to 0 here, because one of the rules of division is we cannot divide by 0. Now, given 2 fractions, when we add fractions, something needs to be the case. I can't just take 3 over 5 and add 1 over 2 right away. There's something that needs to be consistent here. Can you think about what that might be? So what we need here is you have to have what's called common denominators. So 1 over 2 plus 3 over 2, these denominators, the wholes, match up. We cannot combine parts unless the whole values in the denominator match up. And then to match these, we would just add the numerators, and it would be 1 plus 3 over 2, which is 4 over 2, which again, now we can simplify that down. 4 goes into 2 times. So that would be simplified to 2 over 1, or 2 whole parts. If we were going to do this in letters, it would be A over B plus C over B would give us A plus C over B. Now, in terms of subtraction, it's very similar. They also need common denominators. So if I have 3 over 5 and I take 1/5 away, we are just going to subtract the numbers on top. 3 minus 1 will give us 2/5 after we find that subtraction. So very similar. If we use these concepts, it would be A minus C over B. If we were just going to say A over B minus C over B. Again, we leave that denominator the same. We subtract the numerators. Now, multiplication is a little different. Multiplication, we just simply multiply across. So 3/5 times 2/3. These do not need a common denominator. We just multiply them straight across. 3 times 2 is 6. 5 times 3 is 15. Now I think a 3 goes into each of those, so we can reduce this down. There's a factor of 3 into both of them, and this would reduce down to 3/5. So if it was going to be a over b times c over d, we would multiply a times c, which gives us ac, over b times d, which gives us bd. Reciprocal fractions, if I have a over b times b over a, what we're going to end up with is a times b is ab, and b times a is ba, or we could write it as ab. And then anytime we divide anything by itself, we set up here, would give us 1. So a over b times any other reciprocal, b over a, we will end up with 1. So multiplying a number by its reciprocal gives us 1.